Hi, I'm Dr. Rahman, and welcome to Black Women's Health. This is a very interesting podcast, and I've been saving up for this because you may think this has nothing to do with health, but I beg to differ. We are going to be talking about the construction industry and is it an option for women? Why? Well, we know that most of us get our health insurance through our employer. The better the job, the greater the likelihood that you're going to have good insurance. If you don't have a good paying job, you may not have good insurance. And if you don't have good insurance, that decreases the likelihood that you're going to take care of yourself and see the physician and do those things that you need to do in order to optimize your health. So I beg to differ. I think talking about construction as an option for women is something that we need to explore. And I have with me a very special guest today. Her name is Tisha. Hello, Tisha.
Hello.
Tisha has what I call the insider's view of the construction industry. And I'm going to just let her begin by telling us her story. Like, Tisha, it's not considered a field for women. Tell me or share with us how you got into the construction industry.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you. Thank you for having me. I think that women in construction and minorities in construction is something that it's a conversation that needs to be had. There is a need for it. I've seen it. How I got started, the funny part about it is, growing up, I grew up in New York. In New York, they gave us typing classes. That was part of one of the home ec classes. So I knew how to type from the time that I was 14. So all the jobs that I have gotten over the years were administrative assistants, secretarials, clerks, things like that. I wasn't successful in college for a variety of reasons. But I found myself not being in college and not having a path, having a career. So the only thing that I could do was be a secretary. About the time I turned 23, I had a son, and I needed a job. I needed a career. So I started temping. And the construction management company that I work for now was my second temp job in 1995. And I have been with the company now for 27 years. When I started, they had a 1960s view of what a secretary was. We weren't administrative assistants. We were secretaries. We were field secretaries. And we had the luxury and the privilege of working in a construction trailer with construction guys. When I started, there might have been 2 other African American secretaries, 1 project manager, maybe, and 1 estimator. So of a company that was the size of about 200 people, it was about 4 Black people in the company.
Amazing.
Yes.
So, as an administrative assistant,
Yes.
in a construction company, what are your duties?
Right now, my duties, in the beginning, my duties were simplistic. Answer the phone, fax, order food, remember wives' birthdays. Yes, that was a thing. Making sure.
Sounds a bit chauvinistic.
Yes, it does, doesn't it? It sounds very lopsided. Back then, only a female could answer the phone. It was company policy that only a female would answer the phone. So my duties and responsibilities were very limited back then, but it wasn't enough for me. So I started to challenge my position and offer my assistance to the estimators on our job site. What can I do to help you? To the people that wrote the contracts, to my project managers, what more could I do to fill my day? Because I would spend my days pretty much twiddling my thumbs until we had a bill to do. I would answer the phone and type meeting minutes. Now, don't get me wrong. In the beginning, I was typing 40, 50 sets of meeting minutes every day. And it took a lot of time, but it wasn't enough for me. It wasn't a challenge for me. So I challenged the position to get more duties and responsibilities to ensure that my day would be filled and to increase my knowledge.
Okay, so now you weren't doing construction, but you were seeing construction being done.
Yes. So I was actually in the construction trailer watching things happen from the window.
Okay, so explain that process for us. Someone decides they want to build a building. What is the process?
Okay, so it would be just like if you had a home project. You decided to build an addition on your house. You have no idea how to make that happen. You call a guy, the guy comes out, he estimates the addition, he does the work is done, you have a beautiful addition. In business, you have owners that want to build a new building, expand on the building that they have, update, upgrade. They don't really know the process, so they would hire my company and pretty much tell them what they want. My company, in turn, will work with an architect and present the grand picture to the owner, the person that actually wants the job done, and says, do you like this? They like it, they don't like it, they tweak it, they make it look beautiful. And then the construction management company, my company, then hires subcontractors to do that work and then manage the subcontractors.
Okay, so now we're starting to get into the layers.
Yes.
The subcontractors, the people that are doing the work, are also known as tradespeople.
Yes.
And we should say they used to be called tradesmen.
Yes.
But now we're trying to be politically correct.
Yes.
And they're called tradespeople.
Yes.
Now, who are tradespeople?
So tradespeople in the city, we should also remark that in the city of Philadelphia, the majority of work are done by the unions. It's union work. So you would have plumbers, electricians, carpenters, laborers, people that do the HVAC, the ventilation system, MEP people do mechanical, electrical, plumbing. You would have people that would supply equipment, whatever you need to make that building, area, room, floor functional for somebody to utilize. That's what constitutes a tradesperson.
So the construction manager decides we need these type of tradespeople to do this particular work for us.
Yes.
And then the construction managers oversee the work.
Yes.
And they're the ones that correspond with the builders.
Yes.
Let me give you an example. Right here at 11th and Chestnut, there's a huge medical building coming up.
Yes,
it's a Jefferson Medical Facility.
Yes, it is.
So, understanding the process, Jefferson would have went to
LF Driscoll. That's the name of my company.
They're using your company?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Let's use that for an example, but yes, I believe that's an LF Driscoll company.
Okay, so they went to the construction company and they said, we want a building. Do they say how many floors? Do they say?
Yes, so they would approach us. Most facilities like Penn, CHOP, Jefferson, most facilities already have an idea on what's expected. For example, if they're out of patient rooms and they know they need X amount of patient rooms, they know that we need 10 floors of that, and we want it to include medical offices, patient rooms, a cafeteria. They already have an idea on what they want, especially since this is one of many buildings. So they would my company they'll reach out to people sometimes to get jobs, or sometimes we get jobs based on previous work. So they'll say, okay, we know that you're a great company to work with. We know you're a great company to work for. We want you to build our building.
Okay, and I should say your company is the one that's responsible for those huge, magnificent buildings in the University of Pennsylvania.
The majority of those buildings are built by my company.
All right.
Yes.
So
Most of the skyline actually, and it's a kudos for the company because most of the skyline in Center City was built by my company.
wow,
Yeah, most of the skyline.
that's saying a lot.
Yes. Liberty 1, 2, Comcast. Those are jobs that my company has performed.
So these are huge jobs.
Yes, huge jobs, tons of work over multiple years, multiple phases that are all successful in their own right.
So let me tell you, I walk past the construction almost on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw the demolition that
Mhm.
occurred. All those old buildings were knocked down, and then they dug into the ground, and now they're adding, floors. And now it towers over all the other buildings.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a few black men
Yes.
when there was demolition being done.
Yes.
I haven't seen any since they have these huge cranes now and
Yes.
big machines, and
Yes.
they keep going up towards the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't seen any black,
Mm-hmm.
and not a woman, never a
Yes.
woman.
Yes. That is the epitome of construction. Unfortunately, most unions, I can't say all, most unions are predominantly white male unions. There are some unions that are predominantly black. Laborers Union is a predominantly black union. It's that way for a variety of different reasons, but the primary reason is because of lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge.
Of who?
Of minorities, of people who don't know those jobs exist. So I'll give you a good example. I never knew anything about construction and operators, engineers, or people that do anything in construction. I didn't know any of that until I started working in construction. And you don't know what you don't know.
That's true. You don't know. But something must be changing in the industry.
Yes.
If now they no longer call them, if they no longer call the electricians and the plumbers and the HVAC people tradesmen.
Yes.
And now they're tradespeople.
Yes.
Something is amiss.
Yes, the culture is definitely changing. Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, the Trump administration, the culture of the business is starting to change because there have been tons of reports, there have been tons of studies that clearly identify that you can get a more successful project through diversity and being diverse. Yes, there are tons and tons of studies that say that.
Can you say that again? The project is more successful?
A project is more successful if you have, and I was actually reading an article in Forbes magazine that a project is, and I don't want to quote the statistics because I'm not sure, but it is significantly more successful the more diverse group you have, because you're looking at a problem from different perspectives. So if you're looking at a problem from different perspectives, you have a solution from different perspectives, and you can incorporate a better solution. So with the change in the culture, my company culture is changing. Right now we have a more diverse company than we have ever had in the past. And that comes from awareness. Like it's obvious. It's been obvious since, over the past 4 years of that administration. Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, all of the horrible, horrible instances that were thrust in the media through social media are making people more aware that were typically oblivious because it never touched their lives. So the culture is definitely changing, pushing towards diversity and pushing towards change and pushing towards a more inclusive construction site. So you will start to see more, not a lot, but more.
All right, so I'm going to play devil's advocate a bit. Is it because they have a new insight and a new understanding, or is it because there's a shortage of workers and they just don't have anyone to fill the position?
I think that it's a culmination of them both. And I'm going to say that because I am optimistic. I want to believe that they want to do it because it's the right thing to do. I want to believe that. And I also know that there is a shortage of workers. Right now, they have, and part of the problem, even if it is a problem, if I can use that word, is that you have generations of people who were carpenters. Their dad was a carpenter, they're a carpenter, their son's a carpenter. Well, the newer generation of kids don't want to be carpenters. So as the older folks are going out, there's no new influx of people coming in anymore. So now you don't have a whole generational family of Italian carpenters because now he doesn't want to be, the young kid don't want to be a carpenter.
Because, is it because of the pay or is it because it's physical?
I think it's three things. I think it's the culture in which they grew up in. You can make money being an influencer on your couch and make a buttload of money, and not get wet and not have to get up at 6:30 in the morning and not have to be inconvenienced at all. I think that it is the push for college too, because they make so much more money now. Their children can afford to go to college.
Who makes so much more money now?
Tradespeople make a lot of money. That there is a huge financial, and for some strange reason, people don't think that tradesmen, blue collar folks make good money.
That's not the impression, you're right.
It's not the impression that people get. They go, oh, blue collar. You think of postal workers making $15 an hour or whatever the case may be, whatever they make. But tradespeople make a nice amount of money. And that's the second reason why I think that there is not a huge influx of people, because they don't know how much money you can actually make. I know electricians that are millionaires.
Just from being an electrician?
Just from being an electrician. You have to take into consideration, too, and we're going to use union rates, for example. Let's say, for example, and this is not the dollar amount. This is by no means the dollar amount. This is a summary. Let's say, for example, if you have a job and you're a union guy, your starting salary may be $36 an hour. But most people work on weekends. That's double time. So now you're getting $62 an hour. And if you work on Sundays, that's double time. Now you're getting $132 an hour. So your one bring home paycheck could be close to $3,000 a week. So there are people that I know that make $12,000.
$12,000
a month.
A month. Oh.
You know, and if you have no student loans.
Yeah, how about that?
You know, because that's a huge chunk of a lot of people's income.
Because these trades people, we're talking electricians, plumbers, HVAC, probably did not go to college.
They do a lot of on-the-job training. So tradespeople start off as an apprentice. So you can be an apprentice up to 5 years, but you're working. You're taking classes a day a week, and you're working on the job, and you're still getting paid. So eventually, you bump up to a journeyman, a person, or a foreman, a foreperson.
So out of high school, I would then go to a trade school.
Yes, well, not even out of high school. And see, this is the slippery slope. So a lot of the older guys that I know that are my age graduated out of high school, didn't want to go to college, went right into the union.
With no training?
They get the training as an apprentice on the job.
On the job training.
On the job training. So they work for 25, 30 years, and they're 55 years old and can retire full pension. And have medical benefits and things like that. that is what I see to be a point of contention for me, because I was never given that opportunity. Nobody came to my high school and said, you can be a carpenter.
Yes.
Or,
yes.
You could be an electrician.
Yes.
No one's given minorities that option.
Was it because you were a minority or because you were a female?
I think it's a combination of them both. Right now, the city of Philadelphia and the larger companies, Chop, Penn, Hupp, those folks are pushing minority participation. So in order to get a job, you have to agree to, 25% minority participation.
Can you find that? Is Driscoll able to find?
Well, so yes, because this is the other part of it. My company makes our subcontractors accountable. If this is what you want, and it's not just me going to one company, it's me going to 3 companies and saying, this is what we're looking for, this is what we want. And then they have to give us proof that they're complying.
Okay. Let's go back to this money for just a little bit, because it's so interesting, because women are usually shepherded into the fields that we are caregivers.
Yes.
And so there are a lot of Black women in healthcare.
Yes.
And there was a recent study that says, despite the fact that there are a lot of Black women in healthcare, the majority of us are in the low-paying jobs.
Right.
We're the LPNs, we're working in the nursing homes. We don't get paid well. Right. I mean, women in general are paid like 81 cents to every dollar a man earns.
Yes.
Well, when you're looking at LPNs and nursing assistants, they're making even less than that. And this is an industry where you can start almost right out of school.
Yes.
And make money.
Yes. So, yes, that is an accurate statement. Does it happen? No. There are very little women in construction that are actually doing the construction. You don't
that are actually tradespeople.
Yes, you don't have a lot of female carpenters and a female plumber and a female electrician.
Why do you think that is?
It's hard work, actually.
It's very physical.
It's very physical. It's very hard. You're surrounded by men all day long.
So sexism.
Yes.
Racism.
Yes.
Hard work.
Yes.
Not very appealing. How about the pay?
The pay would be typical to what a man makes.
So in construction, a female tradesperson would make dollar for dollar.
It should be, I want to say it should be. I'm not going to say definitely yes, because I don't know a lot of female union workers that I could say, hey, what do you think about that? What I do know is the female construction managers that I know, and I know a lot of female construction managers, they do not make comparable to the men that are doing what they are doing.
And you know that.
I know that for a fact.
Do they know that?
Yes, they do. And there are organizations as far as women in construction that are fighting to make sure that there's an equality there. But I think that that'll be an easier fight because a lot of those women are not African American. They're not minorities. So it's easier for a Caucasian woman to be heard than it is for a woman of a minority woman to be heard.
All right, so I'm actually hearing 2 different career paths. You could potentially elect to be a tradesperson.
Yes.
If you thought you could deal with the physicality of the work, the sexism, and the racism, understanding that you would probably get paid well, but you would have to put up with a lot.
You would have to put up with a lot, but adversely, since the culture is changing,
things might be
a little different.
But then there's a whole nother layer. There's, if you don't want to be a trades person, you can be a construction manager.
Yes.
Now, construction managers need a college education, correct?
Yes. So construction managers, most of the construction managers I know, they either have a degree in civil engineering or they have a degree in construction management. One of those two are probably the best kind of degree to have for that field.
Okay, so they don't have to do the physical work.
They do not know.
Do they have to understand electricity and understand plumbing?
Yes, so these women are very knowledgeable when it comes down to how a building is built, down to the last screw.
Because they're interacting with the tradespeople.
Because it's what they know too. They went to school for it. So they can understand the nuances of electrical work and plumbing and building a building out of the ground. And you know, a lot of the times, you know, if you take your car to the mechanic and the mechanic tells you something, you'll go, okay, even if it doesn't sound right. Well, if you went to school to be a mechanic and that person says whatever they're saying, you can say, no. That is it in women in construction, because the women that I know are not only smart, they're funny, they're feminine, they're women. They are dainty and delicate and will get out there in their Timbs and hard hat and will let a guy have it. And I think that, you know, as women, we don't see that as, oh, that's a sexy job, you know, so it's not an option for us sometimes. You know, the women that I know, the girls that I grew up with, you know, we want to get dressed to go to work. You know, we want to have a heel, we want to have a pants, we want to have a, you know, so you don't think about going to work in jeans and Timbs every day. I'll give you a good example.
Okay.
I have 27 female cousins, 27. And when I started working in construction, they could not understand, like, what do you mean you work in construction? I said, I wear jeans every day. Like, I wear jeans and Timbs and sweatshirts every day. I'm in a construction trailer. Like, I don't have to do my hair. Like, I throw it in a ponytail and I keep it pushing, because 9 times out of 10, I'm walking through dirt to get to my trailer. I'm on my knees trying to fix the copier and the carpet is dirty, you know, or, you know, I have to go in and, not for nothing, I'm the only girl and there's only one bathroom. So, you know, that I deal with a lot. So I'm not going to put on a pair of good shoes and a skirt and go to the job. And it was difficult for them to understand it.
So did you personally have to deal with sexism and racism and all that stuff?
Yes, I did, because the guys when you live in a world that you only see faces like yours, you hold a bias that you don't even know until somebody with a different face comes and moves into the neighborhood. I have the pleasure, and it is a pleasure to work with some of the sweetest men I have ever met in my life. Adversely, I have also had the dishonor to work with people who were one-sided and racist and just, for lack of a better word, dumb to somebody other than their lifestyle. So yes, I had to draw a line in the sand, and no, I'm not snapping my neck TV typical what you see. I'm not that. I said I can articulate myself, and I can tell you exactly where to go, how to get there, and the best route to take, and not raise my voice. And it was a shock for them to deal with me on different levels, because they didn't have any experience with it. So when I started to tell them, like, the things that they would say, like, you know that's racist, right? And they would go, no. I was like, yeah, it is kind of racist, because, and I would have to explain it to them. And then they became more, oh, that's what that means. I was like, yeah, that's what that means.
Okay, good for you. Looking back, had you known Would you have considered becoming a tradesperson or a construction
Absolutely.
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 Which one would you choose?
If I had to do it over again, I would have been a carpenter.
Is there a reason?
One of the reasons for me is being in the industry and being a part of a project, knowing that even though I push the paper and seeing the end result, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to go through a lobby that you laid the floors on, to drive past a building and know that you put the windows in that building. You know, there is a pride that comes with doing a job well and having people utilize that, especially at a hospital. You know, especially at a hospital. So if I were to do it over again, would I? Absolutely. And I would tell all my girlfriends, girl, let's all go.
Is that right?
Yes.
And you would prefer to be a tradesperson versus a construction manager?
Yes.
And the reason for that?
So the tradesperson would go in, do the job, go home. That's what we do. If it was my job to put the walls up, I'd put walls up all day. At the end of the day, I'd go home. Construction managers not only have to check the walls that I did, but check the plumbing that this guy did, check this that guy did. So it's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a long day.
In your mind, what kind of woman would be best suited for this type of work?
Any kind of woman. And I say that because as women, we are resilient. If we decide this is what we're going to do, then darn it, we'll do it. You just have to decide is what you want.
I'm thinking about, size-wise.
The physicality of it?
Yeah. No.
There is no...
Do you have to be a certain height? Do you have to be able to lift a certain amount? Do you have to, be able to run a certain amount? I mean...
Not at all. Not at all. There are no physical limitations to what you can do in construction. They are people that run the cable wire. Cable wire is real light. Somebody has to run that cable wire through that whole building. And all it takes is for you to get up on a ladder, pull it through and pull it back down and go the next 6 feet and keep doing it. There is no limitation to what you can do in construction. Operators, engineers, and this is why I feel I'm very passionate about letting my son's friends and my daughter's friends and their children, letting them know that, okay, college is not, we're under the fallacy that college is for everybody. And then when we fail, we feel horrible. That I felt that. Like, I pushed college, I graduated 4th in my class. I got scholarships everywhere I applied. And when I went to college and I didn't do well, I was deflated for a very long time. And I told my children, college isn't for everybody. And it's okay not to go. You just got to figure out how you're going to pay your bills. And if you want to flip burgers at McDonald's till you're 45, be happy doing it. But be mindful that it's not for everyone. My daughter graduated summa cum laude from Temple. Phenomenal. Loved college. My son is a field dude. He's an electrician. He hated school. He loves being an electrician. So I have 2 spectrums. And we have to be able to tell our children that there are things out there that they can do. You could run a crane. Those people that put those buildings up that you saw, that hoist going all the way up, they're called operators, engineers. They make $132 an hour because it's a very risky job. You're every time you go up there, you're risking your life. There's safety protocol to go up there. You only work maybe 6, 7, 8 months out of the year because the other 4, it's wicked cold up there and stuff freeze.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So, you would recommend it for women?
Yes. Yes.
You don't have to be a certain type of woman.
Not at all.
You don't have to be a rough and rugged type of woman.
Not at all.
You can make money.
You can make nice money. And retire young.
And you just have to be able to deal with the racism and the discrimination.
Yes, because it's going to be there, but that's everywhere. If you worked in a law office, you would still have to deal with that.
Don't you think it's a little more when you're just surrounded and you're in this all-male environment? And I understand that it's changing.
Yes.
But
so,
it's...
Yes, the majority...
It's like being in the locker room with guys.
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is like being in the locker room with guys. Sometimes it is. But I think that in my experience, the majority of the men that I've had the pleasure of working are very respectful. They are very, dedicated husbands. They are raising daughters. They are, God-fearing folk that, go to church on Sundays. So you'll get it, but not the majority of it.
Gotcha. All right. So now to the young girls.
Yes.
Who may not be hearing this or may not have heard this.
Mm-hmm.
To the young women, because your situation isn't that typical.
Mm-hmm.
You find yourself with a child.
Yes.
What are you going to do?
Yes.
What would you say to those women, to those young women in school, or young women with a family trying to make a living for themselves and their family?
I would tell them to look into construction and find something that they can do that they love to do. So if you're an artsy crafty kind of person, carpentry might be good for you. If you like math and logistics, architecture might be good for you. And unfortunately, a lot of people have a stigma too with being a secretary. Administrative assistant is just a really long name for just being a secretary. And a lot of the times I get, oh, you're just a secretary. I get that a lot. But being a secretary afforded both of my children the opportunity to go to college. Being a secretary got me a house and a car, and I took my kids on vacation annually. Being a secretary got us all the things that we needed and most of the things we wanted. So there is no, bright light behind it. Make no mistake about it, because a lot of the times they don't know what I do until I'm not there, and then it's like, oh, I need a pen, and I can't find a pen. Well, the whole world will stop if you don't have a pen. So you kind of need me over here. So, but, there are jobs out there that you can take care of your family with if you just open up your mind and experience and try it.
So, in addition to encouraging women to be an administrative assistant, you're also saying consider
Absolutely
being a tradesperson.
Absolutely.
Consider construction manager.
Absolutely.
Just don't limit yourself.
Do not ever limit yourself. Not ever. Not ever. As women, we have an opportunity to define those positions, just like I had to define mine. I could have just been happy answering the phone and typing meeting minutes. I could have. And then going home at the end of the day. But it wasn't enough of a challenge for me. And by me redefining my position, the standard of things that I do is now company standard. Now all admins have to do it. Because, I've had people work with me and then go to their next job site and go, well, Tisha used to do that. And now I have somebody on the phone saying, how do you do XYZ? So, you as women, we can define these positions. They want us to believe that, oh, I can't hang drywall. Well, drywall, yeah, it's heavy, but they have a piece of equipment to help you do that. So you don't have to be super strong. You just have to have the right tools. So as women, we can do anything in construction and do it well. I had told my daughter, I said, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do? And she was like, well, I don't want to be in the field. I want to be in the office. No problem. That's the path we can go. I have a cousin who works for waste management and will take those little carts off and put those little carts back on. That's not a glamorous job. She just took 3 of her kids to Disney. So we have an opportunity to not have to look at, we might go to work and you might get dirty, but at the end of the day, when you get paid, you can look real fly. So I think the stigma of construction needs to be clarified.
I think we should open it up for people to see. It may not be for you, but
exactly,
it might be worth the exploration.
Exactly. Instead of get it out there.
Absolutely. Instead of a low-paying job in an industry where you're subject to risk and racism and sexism, why not? Yes. Why not consider something else? So thank you.
Absolutely, you're welcome
for sharing something that most of us don't even consider an option.
Right.
And that's probably the take-home message.
Yes.
It's an option.
It's an option.
It's an option, and check it out.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome so much.
We thought the conversation was over, but then we just continued talking. Here, a little bit more.
Okay, so as of 2020, there were a regular carpenter, not in a union, starts off making $26 an hour. A carpenter in the union starts off making $36 an hour. An electrician starts off non-union making $46 an hour. In the union, he makes $64 an hour.
Wow.
Out of the union, an operator's engineer, the gentleman that holds that hoist that goes up and down, starts off at $25 an hour. In the union, it's almost triple that.
Triple?
Almost triple that.
And you compare that to an LPN might be making minimum wage.
Exactly. Now, for construction managers, out of construction managers in general, 90% of them are white. Construction management. 8.6 of them are women. About 5% are black.
Black women?
Just black people
altogether.
Black, okay. 1.7 are Asian. 16.3 are Hispanic. So there's a larger Hispanic construction management percentage than black percentages. And I think that comes from there are a lot of Hispanically owned companies, whereas there are not a lot of black owned companies. So, yeah.
I did hear of one black female construction company. I think she's in New York. Leland. Oh, I've forgotten the name now. I'll have to find it. But similar to consistent with what you said, I think she went to school and became a civil engineer. Right. And then formed her own company and has done well.
Right. Because there's a need there. So if there's only 3 minority plumbers, those 3 plumbers are always going to have work because there has to be a percentage that's met across the board.
So how can black men, black women get into these unions if the unions are creating barriers?
That's the slippery slope that I slide, because that I don't have the answer to that, and I'm not embarrassed to say that, because that's the issue.
But given what you said before, what may happen is because they now need workers.
Yes.
Because they've done well and their children don't want to get dirty and get cold.
Exactly.
They rather do something else.
Right.
There's this opportunity, and there will always be the need for someone to build a building.
Yes.
And that's the other thing that we didn't talk about,
Right.
was that all kinds of buildings. It could be building homes.
Mm-hmm.
It could be building hospitals,
Residential, commercial, healthcare,
museums.
Yes.
I mean, infrastructure, bridges,
Yes.
all that.
So the statistic that I also had was by 2025, tradespeople will be in one of the most demand fields after doctors.
2025. That's
2025. That's in a couple years.
Yeah, that's like tomorrow.
Yes, in a couple years, because you have a lot of people retiring.
Mm.
So you'll have that opportunity to look for work that way. And then they have businesses. They have the Enterprise Center is one. They have a program that are teaching smaller minority MBE, WBE companies to be comparable to bid jobs that are what these large companies have.
So that may be the workaround.
I think that will be definitely the workaround.
You create your own company.
Yes.
And then you bid for the jobs.
Yes.
And then hopefully there'll be this minority quota.
Yes.
And then they'll,
yes. And what we're doing is utilizing them for even a percentage of the work. Mm-hmm. So how do we make it happen? Part of that is making sure that everybody is accountable. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to make the company that works for me accountable if you don't get these numbers. How are you going to get these numbers? Mm-hmm. So now they would hire a smaller company to do a section of the work and keep the big section, because small companies can't handle doing a 19-story building, but they might be able to handle pulling the wire for 19 floors, which is a section of the job. So instead of 1.3 million,
interesting.
They might get 100,000.
It's interesting. It's a whole new industry to really contemplate. And I think the one thing that you said that kind of rings home, and I can kind of see how it might be true, is that after you've done your job,
yes,
and you walk past that building,
yes,
you can say, I did that.
Yes.
Or I had a part in doing
yes.
that. And that
there's a satisfaction
to it.
Yes. Yes. There is a certain satisfaction coming from seeing something that you laid hands on and it's completed. And it's a beautiful functioning structure.
So we need to keep the options open.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you again.